What's good with y'all? Beats with Draco, back at it with a brand new video. So as we all know, the draft lottery just ended today. Quick shout out to the Bulls and the Hornets. They were the biggest winners of the draft. As far as the Knicks losing the draft, oh well, it's the Knicks. Who cares? They don't deserve good anyway until they fix whatever the hell going on in their front office. But yeah. So this inspired me to make my draft big board list. Is it finalized? No. I posted one last night on Twitter and actually felt like there was a couple of tweaks that I need to make already. I forgot her name. I forgot Miles Powell when I made my list. Yeah, it's just some things that I'm still probably going to change around. It's not nothing finalized, but I still feel like I have enough information acquired in this itty bitty brain of mine to at least give y'all like a little bit of insight of who I think my top 25 prospects are in this draft. So without further ado, let's get it, man. Leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, tell a friend, do all that good stuff for me. Alright, well, let's start with the list. So number 25 on my list, I got Trey Jones. Trey Jones is a really elite two-way guard in my opinion, and I think sophomore year he really came into his own offensively, whereas like freshman year is a little bit more of a struggle, especially when you do have to play with the firepower that Duke did have last season with Zion, RJ, Cam, all being guys that can do things with the rock in their hands as well, and trying to find your niche within that team. I think this year the fact that he was designated as the floor general and like as somebody who can create off the bounce for that team was pretty big for his growth as a player. And I think that he found himself being he was already a good playmaker, but he found himself being more disciplined in that aspect of the game, as well as somebody who can lock up your opposing point guard on a night-to-night basis. And I think that really has his value a lot more higher than what the average person would think it would be. The shooting came along as well from this season, and I actually really do like Trey Jones as a prospect going forward. So that's just my quick synopsis on him. Number 24, I put Nico Mania. Nico is somebody who was highly touted and somebody who was put really high in the rankings for everybody else. I don't want to necessarily call it a season at Arizona a disappointment, but it felt like a little bit under expectations of what people had him. But I still think he can meet the expectations that people saw him to be. Like when people had him like as a top 10 caliber prospect going into the season, I still see that in him. He's a really crafty guard, really skilled, shoot the ball really well. I actually thought the backcourt of him and Josh Green for what it was worth was really, really tough. Just the fact that they were able to shoot, do things on and off the ball. Defensively, it's something that will gradually, I would assume, grow as time goes on. But I think the offensive package is about as NBA ready as you can expect from a guard coming into a draft class. He's not the super advanced passer like the other guards on this list, but he really facilitates the ball well and makes the right passes. Smart basketball player, good IQ. Again, the shot's there for him. So it's just a matter of really just figuring out the league as it goes, and I really think he'll be a solid contributor to whatever team drafts him in due time. It might even be right away. I can't necessarily tell you what happens right away. Another thing, real quick, before I keep going and rambling on about how I like such certain player, that certain player. Again, this is not what I see happening immediately. So when I rank these boards, it's not necessarily who's going to have the most impact for a team right away. This is just the upside that I think, okay, 5 years down the line, I think this is the general consensus of who will be where on everybody's list. Okay, I just want to get that clear so you don't come into my video talking about, oh, this guy sucks, or oh, you underrated this guy, yada yada yada. This is just, it has nothing to do with immediate impact. This is a gradual thing, and some players it takes longer to grow than others, especially when we're talking about wing players. So I just want to get that clear. But number 23, Patrick Williams. Really smooth offensive game. I actually like him as a modern day power forward, even though he might be undersized at 6'7". Again, we're seeing teams like Houston throw out small ball lineups where their center is like 6'8". So I don't really think that like the size really matters. I just think that the offensive versatility is there for him to thrive in a role like that at the end of the day. I'm not really too fond of his defensive capability, so I'm not really going to be the one to judge that in today's video. But again, I do believe that the offensive package for Patrick Williams is there for him to thrive in the role of the stretch forward. Somebody who can eventually take the slower footed forwards off the dribble. The package is there just for him to be able to manipulate offenses. Not somebody that's going to really facilitate for you. So if you're looking for somebody that's going to be able to create for others, that's not the guy that you're getting here. But if you need somebody that can go put up a quick 18 for you in due time, that'll be the guy that you want on your team, man. And the shot's also there for him. Really like this game. 22, I got Desmond Bain. Again, as far as this goes, I really think this is a talented offensive draft class, and I think his talents really showcase a lot on the offensive end. And defensively, he's up to par. I think that if you need him to be that guy for you right off the gate, he's not going to make too many mistakes on that side of the court. Again, this is somebody that I think like would actually make an impact immediately for an NBA team. I just don't see like the superstar upside when it comes to him, but I do see a guy that will fill the role that you need from your 2 or 3 pretty much right away. So yeah, that's my take on him. Number 21, I got Josh Green. I love Josh Green actually. I've been debating where I would honestly put him on this list. I felt like as of now 21 is a pretty cool spot, but I feel like it could even rise for me. I really like Josh Green's potential. Really great shooter. Let's offer it, just need to get that out the way. Jumper looks really pretty. Again, the backcourt of him and Nico was tough at Arizona. He's really athletic and explosive though, so he's not like your average shooter, and he can defend well as well. So I do think, another guy that I think that can come on the NBA roster and fill a role that you need him to fill right away. I don't see the superstar upside necessarily, but I do really think that Josh Green's upside going into the league, bro, is really high. And I really do think that like just his capability to shoot and his athleticism alone will take him far in this league. Anything else I wanted to say about him? If he wants to, I think the only thing that he has to do if he wants to take that next step to being like a future all-star guard is the playmaking. I didn't really see too many plays made from him. I don't think he averaged that many assists either. So just like, yeah, my suggestion would be if he wants to become that like next big player, it would be to like work on a little bit more on the playmaking side of things. But I think, again, the shot's there. He's explosive, so he's not your average shooter. Can defend also. He can guard 1 through 3. So if you need him to fill a role for you immediately, that would be a great pickup for any team that's looking for a guy that can need to do that for them. Number 20, I got Grant Riley. Grant Riley is a problem. That is a bucket. And honestly, bro, like if the other guards weren't on this list, bro, I would honestly have him touted like way higher. I think this is a real strong guard class. And I think like just the fact that Grant Riley would be somewhere at 20 in my list kind of like showcases that, because he's a real tough guard, bro. And I say real tough, like it's crazy. The range is there, the handle's there, the vision is there, just a complete package of a guard. I think someone like Grant Riley, again, I really do think that like if you need him to fulfill a role for your team off rip, I think he can handle that pressure and that expectation for you. I really like Grant Riley as a prospect. At number 19, I got Isaac Okoro. That would be a little bit lower than where everybody else has him. But I do think that Isaac Okoro is probably like, if not the best wing defender in this draft, probably like 2 or 3, depending on who you want to put ahead of him. I'll take whichever debate that y'all want to have for him. I do think the offensive package needs a little bit more work. A lot of the times, the option for him at Auburn was to go inside and put your back to the basket. I think with his size and like the expectations that we will have in the league, there will be less looks of that for him particularly. So though I think that's a plus to have in your bag off rip, I do think that in due time there's got to be a little bit more added onto his game in terms of like the dribble pull-ups, the just getting to the rack in between game, just all the simple basic 3-level scoring stuff. He does have a cool spot-up shot though, so I will give him credit for that. And actually, again, this is somebody that you can plug in your squad immediately off it, and I think he'll be able to contribute right away for your roster. Kind of reminds you of like a Josh Okogie, but a better like spot-up shooting version of him. So he'll be able to defend year 1 through 3 almost well, like splendidly, like kind of like how Thibault came into the league as well. But then the offensive package is pretty much the next step for him to go take that leap into being a really considerable NBA player. Not to say that he's not one already. But yeah, just that would be like the next step for him, is to develop that offensive package, so teams can rely on him to score with the ball in his hands, more or less. At number 18, I got Aaron Nesmith. Now, this is somebody who I put a little bit more lower in my previous list, and I was mainly thinking about that because of the defensive upside for him. It wasn't necessarily there when I saw a little bit of Vanderbilt, especially when it comes to the on-ball defense. But that boy has a clip. That boy got a strap. Pow, 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 pow. Pow, best shooter in this draft, and I'm never going to downplay the responsibility or the capability of being the best shooter in the draft again, because I just saw Cam Johnson hoop like crazy in this bubble, and I see the potential for Cam Johnson to be a really solid NBA player for 15 years just because of that clip that he has. And that was somebody who I was actually pretty high on, but when I thought about 13 at first, I'm like, that might be a little bit high for someone that's like a 5-year player. But like, again, I'm not gonna put somebody down on my list no more if he's the best shooter in the draft class in an era that heavily emphasizes shooting. And Nesmith is the best shooter in this draft class. The strap is really efficient. I'm pretty sure he shot like 40% from NBA 3. So that's just the NBA ready shooter for a team that, in my opinion, should probably take him within like the 13 to 17 range if you're not going to take the other guys that I have like above him. Just because, like, again, I'm never going to put out the best shooter in a draft class again. And this is just not like, and I have this little bit of a stigma because of guys like watching guys like Fredette, McDermott be a little bit more off-putting and off-wonders, but 50% from the 3-point line is something that I can't just ignore at the end of the day. And I really do think that like kind of boosted him up from 25 to 18. And I did mention on Twitter that that's probably the guy who's going to make the biggest jump on my list. Anyway, number 17, I got Theo Mitchell. Theo, really solid point guard, really crisp decision maker. Isn't as explosive of a scorer as I would like from my one position personally. But again, he's somebody that's going to make the right play all the time. Defensively, I don't think there's going to be too many lapses with him in due time after you get past all the rookie mistakes and all that stuff that young players go through. I don't think there will be too many defensive lapses from him just because he's such an intelligent player. But again, like how I mentioned before, the scoring intake would be my next be the next thing for me, for him to really take that step into being one of the better guards in the league. It's probably why I would have him low, because again, the IQ is there, the craftiness even to score is there. He has the upside to become a scorer, but it just wasn't really shown enough for me at this moment. Again, I could be like wrong, because it was not like I watched all of Theo's games, but everything that I do see of him, it doesn't necessarily scream electrifying scorer. And all the guards in the league, regardless of how you feel about them, or regardless of where you rank them here and there, they're aggressive and electrifying scorers first and foremost, before they're facilitators. And I think that would just be like the next step for Theo to make in order to really make himself a name in this league. And honestly, he would have the potential to even be like higher on this list, in my opinion, if I just saw more of that from him, because he checks off all the other boxes for me. And I think, like, as a team player wise, he'll be somebody that's really solid to pick up in this draft class. But again, the scoring intake need to rise a little bit more for my liking. All right, 16, I got Tyrese Maxiell. Another shooter that I really like from this draft class, but he's not just a shooter, really crafty guard. Utilizes the floater game really well, can handle the block really well, gets to the spots fairly well. I would like to see him like shy away from contact less when he does get to his spots and get to his bag and get to his package. Defensively, he's not bad for someone who is like undersized at his position. Again, could improve in that area, but I really do like the offensive upside of Tyrese Maxiell. I think like just being like really as quick as he is, and having the shooting touch that he does. Though even when I mentioned it when we were watching the reaction, y'all can go check it out. I would like to see him, get busy more when it comes to being able to just catch and shoot off rip. But again, if you're gonna be the 3-level scorer that he was for Kentucky, I don't really mind it. And again, I see the upside for him to become a prolific scorer in the NBA. Playmaking is fine. I still would like to see the growth in that department as time goes on, especially being a 6'3" guard. So you're more than likely going to be a combo guard. You're more than likely going to be expected to play the 1 and the 2 for a lot of the times. And the moments when you're a 1, you need to be able to proficiently make passes. And I know that's something that like people would almost underrate. But then you watch the Sixers play, and it's like Joel Embiid will have position for a quick 2-3 seconds, and then the other opposing team is just able to take the look away. And the fact that the Sixers guards on the court just won't look for Embiid when he has solid position anywhere he's at, just makes the Sixers offense that much more harder. So I do think like the playmaking growth of certain players really does help in that aspect of the game of basketball. Number 15, I put RJ Hampton. Didn't have too much of a crazy season going at NBL. But again, I do think when you're playing professional basketball, like overseas, the guys like, why am I forgetting their names now? Like Bruce Bowen Jr., certain players from that aspect, again, coming from overseas, they're not likely to have the biggest impact on their teams. You're normally just going to be able to look at their upside when it comes to what they provide on the court. But he was a really tough guard coming out of high school when I see him. And I saw glimpses of that again when it comes to just being able to be somebody who's prolific in the NBA. I'm really high on his athleticism. I think he utilizes it the best of this draft class. Again, somebody that might need to work on shot selection. But as far as somebody who has upside to be like a quality combo guard, he has all the tools to be that. Efficiency wasn't the best for him at NBL, but again, when you're young, playing professional overseas, new game, like that's not necessarily going to be your strong suit. I feel like, in my personal opinion, I haven't necessarily seen an example of that. If anybody can show me, you can let me know in the comments below. Anyway,